This sitting is resumed.
Announcements by Your Honor the Speaker. Messages from His Excellency the Governor General. Petitions. Government notices. Give notice of the.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice of the Constitution Amendment Bill 2018.
Private members' notices.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice of a resolution to take note of the throne speech, which Her Excellency has graciously addressed to both houses of Parliament, and to express humble thanks for the gracious speech.
I'm obliged.
No. No, it's just a notice. Notices of questions, reports from select committees, first readings of bills.
I beg to move that the Constitutional Amendment Bill 2018 be read the first time.
Second, please.
I wish to second that, Mr. Speaker.
Question is that the Constitutional Amendment Bill be read for the first time. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it.
Statements by ministers, congratulatory and/or obituary speeches, personal explanations, motions for leave of absence, oral replies to questions, notices of motions for the adjournment of the House on matters of urgent public importance, orders of the day.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the suspension of Standing Orders 6, 16, 18, 20, 42, subsection 5, 43, and 44.
No, it's fine.
Second, please.
I beg to second that, Mr. Speaker.
Question is that the aforementioned standing orders be suspended
For the remainder of
the session.
Of the day's sitting.
For the day's sitting. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it.
Government business. Not business in the order of the day.
Government business is now the order of the day.
So there will be. Speaker, order number 1, in the name of the Honorable Prime Minister, to move the second reading of the Constitutional Amendment Bill 2018.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. It sounds good for me to be addressing you, sir, as Mr. Speaker. I rise, sir, on this day to be able to correct a discriminatory provision in our Constitution, and one that I regret that we've had to do at so early a stage in this government's life, but to ensure that we can perfect the constitution of the government in the manner in which we believe can give effect to the policies outlined by Her Excellency in the throne speech earlier today. And the matter which therefore occupies this House's attention relates to, first and foremost, provisions that are discriminatory against Barbadians holding dual citizenship. Simply put, a Barbadian who has also sworn allegiance to another country is immediately precluded both by sections 38 and 44 of the Constitution from becoming a member of the Senate and becoming a member of the Honorable House of Assembly. In the instance at hand, on the 26th of May, I would have announced the desire of my government to have 2 persons serve as senators, Senator Rawdon Adams, and to serve as a senator, Mr. Rawdon Adams and Ms. Kay McConney, and in the instance of Ms. McConney, to serve also as a Minister of Government. Both are Barbadians by birth. Both, like almost everyone who is now in this chamber, were born in this country. In the instance of Mr. Adams, he is well known. His father and his grandfather would have both served as Prime Minister and Premier, respectively, and in the case of his grandfather, Prime Minister of the West Indies Federation. But all of that is irrelevant. What is relevant is that in spite of being a Barbadian by birth, in spite of Ms. McConney being a Barbadian by birth, because in Ms. McConney's case she holds Canadian citizenship, and in Mr. Adams's case British and French citizenship, they are precluded from serving in this honorable parliament, even though they were born on these 166 square miles. I think all of us agree that that is an anomaly and a discriminatory provision that could not have been intended by the framers of the Constitution. What makes it even more egregious for us is that they hold the citizenship of the country of their children's birth. And in each instance, their children are still minors. So that in order for them to serve in the country of their birth, they would have, Mr. Speaker, to choose to give up the citizenship of the country of their children's birth while their children remain as minors. That is an extraordinary request to make of anyone in circumstances where those provisions, to the extent that they were included in a 1960s, in our case a 66 Constitution, were for a world in which the Cold War was the dominant geopolitical environment within which people functioned. The Cold War came to an end in the early 1990s, 1990, 1991, with the fall of the Berlin Wall. We have not yet since reflected the changes in our Constitution. And one of the things which we promised this country is that there will be comprehensive constitutional reform to be able to treat to a document that is now 52 years old, that is governing a country that has significantly changed. We have also, as a country, given clear voice to the fact that we want Barbadians, wherever they are located, whether on this 166 square miles or wherever they are in the world, to take up their rights and their responsibilities as Barbadian citizens, to treat to this country in the way that citizens ought to treat to it, both by way of contribution and service, investment. And yet, in spite of the fact that the environment within which we live is more favorable to them doing so than ever before because of technology, because of the fact that you can literally speak and see through video conferencing, people irrespective of wherever they live or are finding themselves in the world, our Constitution precludes them from service at the very highest level. Now, I am not sure that others have effectively checked what has happened in other parts. But what I do know is that principles only mean something when it is inconvenient to stand by them. And you're going to hear me say that over and over, as I've said it before. When it came to our attention, the Attorney General and my attention, that this presented a difficulty, rather than keeping it under cover of night, we sought to do the right thing and to make sure that our Constitution, constitutional arrangements do not perpetuate the discrimination. And therefore, we come here in full glare of the people of Barbados on this day, the opening of our Parliament, to do right by Barbadian citizens who have been discriminated against. There are those who remind us and say there are other persons who may have served as recently as the last Parliament and who may therefore not have complied with the provisions of the Constitution. I do not know, but it is not I keep saying I do not have eyes in the back of my head, and I do not believe that two wrongs make a right if that were indeed the case, because I'm not qualified to say whether it is the case or not. What I do know is that having been alerted by the Honorable Attorney General that this is the situation, that we have come to make wrong things right in accordance with the laws of our land, which is the only way I know how to do it. Secondly, with respect to the other provision of 12 months ordinary residence, it doesn't only affect the two senators that we want to appoint, it affects also one of the senators that Her Excellency has nominated, and who therefore was unable this morning to be there as well. And once again, it shows how anachronistic these provisions are. Indeed, the corresponding provision would have had, we would have seen some amendments to a similar provision in 1974 by the then Prime Minister, Mr. Barrow, the Right Excellent Errol Walton Barrow, who removed some of the provisions in Section 44 that would have precluded people's participation, Section 43, of the Constitution, by deleting the words Commonwealth citizen appearing in paragraph A thereof and substituting the words citizen of Barbados. So that those qualifications as to citizenship and residence were amended by a previous Prime Minister in 1974. It is perhaps regrettable that we did not use that opportunity to amend sections 38 and 44 with respect to the dual citizenship prohibition, and it is regrettable that we didn't use it to amend the ordinary residence of 12 months, which is in section 37. May I remind us that this country has had a distinguished history of welcoming back Barbadians to occupy high posts in this land. I speak, of course, first and foremost, to the previous Governor General, the first woman to hold that post, the late Dame Nita Barrow, who spent the majority of her working life serving with distinction outside of this country, who served then as ambassador to the United Nations and moved from there to become Barbados' first female Governor General. I speak of Sir Hugh Springer, who between his time in service in this House of Assembly and as General Secretary of the Barbados Labour Party as he then was, he left Barbados in the 1950s to go and serve in Jamaica at the then University College of the West Indies as its first registrar, and remained outside of Barbados for over 25 or 30 years before he returned as this country's Governor General. We have to draw upon our talent wherever our talent is found as Barbadians, and it is this government's intention so to do. We recognize that the majority who come to serve will live and be resident here, but we must always make room for those who were born here or who are of here, but who are willing to build this nation to be the best that it can be. The third amendment derives from a commitment I gave on the 26th of May as well, when at that time there was a situation where the Barbados Labour Party had 30 members supporting it in this House of Assembly. And there was the very clear and distinct prospect that there would not have been a leader of the opposition. Had we perhaps known then what we know now, I might not have made that commitment, but I didn't. And in the circumstances, promise made, promise kept. And the amendment facilitates the Governor General during any period in which there is a vacancy in the office of Leader of the Opposition by reason of the fact that no person is either both qualified in accordance with the Constitution for or willing to accept appointment to that office. The Governor General shall, after consultation with the political parties that do not support the government, in other words, the ones that have lost the election, the Governor General shall act in their discretion. In this case, we draft in the masculine, but the truth is we are presently in the feminine. So act in her discretion in the exercise of any function in respect of which it is provided in the Constitution that the Governor General shall act in accordance with the advice of the Leader of the Opposition, and similarly act on the recommendation of the Prime Minister in exercise of any function in respect of which it is provided that in the Constitution that the Governor General shall act on the recommendation of the Prime Minister after consultation with the Leader of the Opposition. So this attempts to fill a lacuna that we believe will give voice to the Governor General being able to consult with the political parties. As I said, this was committed to prior to the current situation where we now have a Leader of the Opposition, but we felt that if we identified it as a lacuna, in spite of the existence of a Leader of the Opposition to date, we needed to hold faith and correct it one time, and hence its presence in this bill, which is before the Honorable the House of Assembly today. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I did not envisage that this would be our first bill before this Honorable Chamber, but what I do know is that I want this to be an example to all Barbadians. When we set out on a path, sometimes we don't always contemplate all of the things that we will find on that road. What we must never do is to seek to cover by night that which should be subject to open glare and full transparency. As we start as a government, so shall we continue. We are here to correct a discriminatory provision in the Constitution, but equally to facilitate our ability to constitute a full government. I have advised Her Excellency that I will make nominations to the Senate tomorrow of 2 senators on a temporary basis, and I have spoken to Mr. John Williams and Mr. Delisle Bradshaw, who will accept appointments to the Senate for the period of the session to facilitate the debate of this amendment. I will then, after this amendment, should it pass both houses, will then ask them to resign such that we can make the appointments that will allow this government to become whole, and that we can continue on the path that we set out with respect to the throne speech and the policies announced therein by Her Excellency the Governor General. It is not where I thought I would be today, but in so doing, it is an example that I would wish to recommend to every Barbadian who finds themselves altered off of their path by anything else, such that we remember being honest with the public is what is required of us more than anything else. And if we are that, we can overcome any obstacle that lies before us in this country. I'm obliged to. I beg to move, sir, that this amendment do be read a first time. Second, reserve the right to speak.
The honourable member for Christchurch West.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, okay. I'm obliged. Okay.
The honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for your indulgence. I wish to give you the assurance that on this occasion, and as far as is possible, going forward, I should not delay the House with my submissions beyond the the time that is absolutely necessary. So this will be a brief contribution. Now, firstly, may I, on behalf of the people of St. Michael West, and in my own name, pay you compliments for your selection and election to this high office. Wish you well in your presiding in this House, and express the assurance that the people of Barbados will be pleased with how you conduct yourself as the presiding official in this House. This is a little bit of an upward start for the government, and I anticipate that this government will do far better than it is doing today. I support very strongly the notion of the primacy of citizenship as a qualifier for the holding of high office in this country. That is a primacy that I will always support. I support, therefore, the Honorable Prime Minister in reference to that primacy of citizenship. There should be nothing in our Constitution that discriminates against a citizen of Barbados with reference to their desire or their selection for high office in Barbados. To the extent, therefore, that the current provision is discriminatory, I support the position as expressed by the honourable member for St. Michael Northeast. There are two cautions which I would like to highlight. Governments with large majorities must always seek to resist any temptation for abuse of power based on the numbers in the Parliament of Barbados. I am not suggesting that there is any abuse of power being attempted here today. I'm simply saying, in the name of the people of Barbados, that we take this at face value, and that what we have existing in Barbados in terms of the configuration of this honorable House will not see the government of the day demonstrating any predisposition to the abuse of power. Governments also with large majorities must resist the temptation to seek for amendments of the Constitution for momentary convenience. This is an awkward situation. I understand the pressures of the moment, and therefore we're minded to support the government in its attempt today to amend the Constitution to allow for an action which the government desires to take. But momentary convenience should never be one of the dynamics, one of the elements that guides a government because of its majority numbers in the direction of seeking to take action for that momentary convenience. There are other citizens of Barbados who could be chosen to take these two positions. I have no problem with the two individuals' name. Rawdon Adams is a name familiar to me, and the Adams family is rich in terms of his contribution to the history and development of this country. Ms. Kia McConney, I do not know. One of my concerns is that they have not shared the pain of the last 10 years with the rest of Barbados. And though the claim to citizenship must be acknowledged and given that primacy of which I spoke, the truth of the matter is Barbadians have gone through 10 years of pain. And these two individuals have lived outside of that experience. And there are still 200,000 odd Barbadians from among whom the government could still have chosen two senators. I believe that this government, with its numbers, must use those numbers to effect some significant changes to the Constitution of Barbados that relate to political reform, electoral reform, parliamentary reforms The one I choose to highlight today is reforms having to do with the judiciary, judicial reforms. I have never fully understood why a Barbados Labour Party that railed so strongly against constitutional amendments of the 70s with respect to the appointment of a Chief Justice and judges in Barbados has never sought to effect the required changes to the Constitution. I wait to see whether this current administration with its numbers and having in the past as opposition railed against the appointment of the now incumbent Chief Justice and the circumstances under which that was done, if this government of the day with its large numbers will look to make significant amendments to our Constitution, especially with reference to those provisions having to do with the appointment of members of the judiciary. Having said that briefly, Mr. Speaker, I support wholeheartedly the proposed amendment to the Constitution, which would allow the government to take the action as outlined by the Honourable Prime Minister, and I support that sincerely.
The honourable member for Christchurch West.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And first, at the outset, let me congratulate you on your elevation to the post of Speaker. And I have no doubt that we look forward to many, many interesting debates over the next 5-year period. I feel compelled to speak on this matter. First, let me, on the outset, support the amendment to the Constitution. And the reason I feel compelled is a couple of reasons in particular, and I won't be long on this. The first is, like the Leader of Opposition, who says that he has known the Adams family, I can vouch for the senator being recommended, Rawdon Adams. I have known Rawdon from the time I was 11 years old, and I have found him to be an excellent person, and I have no doubt that once this amendment passes, he will make an excellent contribution to the other place over the way. But to go a little further and to follow on from what the Leader of the Opposition said in terms of not feeling the pain just because you live in another country, the pain that we were subjected to under the Democratic Labour Party administration for 10 years. I would like to suggest to the Leader of the Opposition that not being physically present in the country does not protect you from the pain that your brothers and sisters would have felt. And sometimes people feel pain and anguish, and you may not be feeling the pinch of that shoe yourself, but you can empathize with those people, and you feel that pain that they're suffering, even although you may not yourself be suffering that. And I give you an example. In my profession, my patients feel pain. I might not be feeling that pain, but I empathize with the pain that they are experiencing, and I try my best to relieve or reduce that pain as much as I can. So just because you are not yourself feeling the pain does not mean that you cannot empathize. And I have no doubt that both of those people that we are suggesting that would be senators of this country would have felt, even if not directly, would have certainly indirectly felt the pain that we experienced, and certainly their family members would have also expressed to them the difficulties that the people of Barbados were experiencing under the last administration. The second point that I feel compelled to speak about relates to the fact about dual citizenship. And I would hate to think, and let me be at the outset, my daughter holds dual citizenship. I would hate to think that in a Barbados that she grew up in, that she went to school in, that her father served in this honorable house, that her great uncles on both sides served in this honorable house, that her cousins served in this honorable house, that simply because she had additionally taken on citizenship of another country, that would exclude her from serving in a house that so many of her relatives served in. And we have to understand that when people travel, they get an opportunity to experience other walks of life. They get an opportunity to see things from a different light, from a different aspect, from a different perspective. And if those people who have seen things from a different perspective, thinking outside the box, if you will, and those people then have an opportunity to come and bring that perspective to us, to bring that perspective to make Barbados better, to bring that perspective to raise up everybody in this country, I think that they cannot be excluded just because they have taken an oath to be a citizen of a second country. So I fully and completely support this measure, not only for the two senators, but also for generations going forward, so that they do not feel excluded from the country of their birth, but feel included and feel that they have a contribution to make, that contribution will be welcomed, that the people of Barbados could benefit from that contribution. And if we as a people recognize that when you travel and you get experiences from all parts of the globe, that you can bring that experience back and that the people of Barbados can benefit. Look, in my own experience, and in the medical profession for sure, nobody becomes a plastic surgeon by working in Barbados alone. You have to travel, get the experience, and come back and give that expertise. Nobody gets that experience working as an orthopedic surgeon, for example, alone. We expect our professionals to travel, get the expertise and the knowledge that we don't have access to here in Barbados, and then bring that expertise back and share it with the country. And this is what we encourage. So if we encourage it in the professions like the medical profession, we must also encourage it for the political class as well. Give our people the opportunity to go and get experiences abroad. See how people do things abroad. See how they run their countries abroad. And bring back that experience and expertise to this nation, and which it can make us even richer and a better place. So, Mr. Speaker, without a doubt, I will support this amendment without exclusion. The other aspect of the amendment, with the leader giving the Prime Minister opportunity, the Governor General, an opportunity to appoint a leader of the opposition, again, I support that. I support it because we may find ourselves in a position like this next term. In fact, I believe that we will find ourselves in a position like this next time around. The Barbados Party will again win all 30 seats, and we'll have a similar problem. So we would have to have that amendment in place, and it will be in place in advance. So I think that this amendment all through is something good for the country. It's something to help us to make this country better. And I look forward to more bills like this as we take this country forward. I'm obliged.
Thank you very much,
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker. I've listened carefully to the two contributions, and may I give the assurance to the Honourable House that we're not here as a temporary convenience, but we feel strongly that we need to remove the discriminatory provision, and that it also allows us to fill the positions to complete the structure of the government. Yes, that is true, but I think that wherever discrimination prevails, we should seek to move it from our landscape, especially given our past where the majority of our people were the victims of discrimination for centuries. I think that the Honourable Member for Christchurch West sought to contextualize the other concern which the Leader of the Opposition had with respect to whether these persons have shared in the burden of the last 10 years. I go further. We need to recall that even though Barbadians may not be resident in Barbados, through the remittances and through their contributions and fundraising, many Barbadians, thousands of Barbadians overseas, including the two that we're proposing to appoint, have literally played a part in helping their families here, but also helping their communities, their schools, and also adding value to areas of economic and social activity that will improve the lot of the overall country, but also the kind of activities that we practice to be able to lift the standards that we want to. No country grows by closing. No country grows by closing. In fact, it atrophies. We grow when oxygen and when we open up and when we allow people to move in and out. And I believe, look at Rwanda. Rwanda has had to reach out to the diaspora in order to rebuild Rwanda after the genocide. And look at the tremendous gains that they're making. Not that I'm comparing Barbados to that, but I use that as an example of how you reach out. For the last 15 years, I have been making the statement that technology has so developed that our concept of the diaspora has to change. I have a sister who lives in Sydney, Australia. I have two nieces who live in Sydney, Australia. I see them participate in all kinds of activities. I speak to them sometimes daily or weekly. The only thing I can't do is to hug them. But they can be as much a part of my daily life, more so, in fact, than people who live on this island who you may not see for 2, 3, 4 months. So that our concept of the world has to change. And if we are to maximize the opportunities that are available to us as a nation, then we equally have to ensure that our government and our structures of government are open enough to accommodate how people move and how people relate to each other in this 21st century. In the case of both persons, I probably should have given a little more information. Ms. McConney would have led the establishment of the Youth Entrepreneurs Scheme back in 1995 with distinction, an institution that has brought and made a difference, rather, to so many people's lives in this country. She then served with distinction as Consul General at Toronto on behalf of the government of Barbados, and she then served as ambassador at Geneva, being on the front line of a lot of our multilateral trade negotiations, as well as in being able to represent our positions with the WTO and also with WIPO. Before opening her own business in Canada, which is about restructuring and giving advice to entities and businesses. The ministry which she has is about the reconstruction of government, and it is also about the establishment of electronic governance and creating a smart Barbados, first foremost with a smart Bridgetown. I have every confidence that she will bring distinction to this government and this country with the mission that we have asked her to undertake as a member of the cabinet. With respect to Mr. Adams has a distinguished career as a financial analyst. He has a degree in economics from the University of South Carolina and a master's in political science and philosophy, I believe, from my alma mater, the London School of Economics, a master's in political sociology and development, in political sociology and development from the London School of Economics. He served as in Her Majesty's Treasury at the UK Ministry of Finance, coming out of university, and he served then as a revenue analyst with Xerox, and he then served at a number of major multinational companies as financial and inventory analyst, and then investment analyst at Sparrow Holdings LLC. And then, of course, he is now the Chief Executive Officer of BIT, which, as you know, is one of the emerging fintech companies in the global economy of financial technology that is, in fact, domiciled in Barbados, but is doing extraordinary work in blockchain technology, one of the areas of technology which Her Excellency referred to in the throne speech this morning. It is my judgment, Mr. Speaker, that these two will add tremendous value to the government of Barbados as constituted. But it is my conviction that whether it is these two, or any other two, or any other 20, or any other 200, they should not be the subject of discrimination by a country's constitution. And it is for this reason that I come here with conviction this evening to move the constitutional amendment number 1 of 2018. I give the country the assurance that the Attorney General and myself have already discussed the importance. We have a draft, it was called Draft Constitution, that was left there in 2006. I've asked him to pick it up, dust it off. There are clearly things that will have to go in, such as the Integrity Commission, should this Honorable House pass that legislation in the very near future, and other aspects of the arrangements. Our 1966 Constitution speaks to the role of government. Our 21st century Constitution must speak, Mr. Speaker, to the role of governance. And I say to the Leader of the Opposition, believe you me, there is no one who perhaps has been as fervent in their desire for parliamentary reform and constitutional reform than myself, that any government that I lead shall make sure that that is on the front burner. Indeed, this morning, I think you heard Her Excellency refer to aspects of our justice system that must be at the front line of this government's work. Similarly, we committed to being able to do consultations not only on people's assemblies, which the Honourable Member, Leader of the Opposition, should know well, since he was part and parcel of that policy framework, and that we intend to consult with the country on it. I've asked and recommend to Cabinet that the Honourable Member for Christchurch South be the person who lead that national consultation with a group of distinguished citizens, because from St. Lucie to St. Philip, parish by parish, Barbadians will be consulted on the new people's assemblies, because we believe they have a right. We believe they have a right to a voice. Similarly, this morning in Her Excellency's throne speech, there was reference to the need for us to consult on parliamentary reform. There has been no serious parliamentary reform in Barbados since 1971, when we moved from double-member constituencies to single-member constituencies. In 1967, when we removed local government from the governmental architecture of our country. And while we do not intend to impose a layer of governance that will be a drain on the state financially, particularly in these straitened economic, financial and economic circumstances that we found ourselves in, we believe that we can find ways of deeper consultation through the people's assemblies, through people's initiatives. If a certain percentage of Barbadians want to see a matter before Parliament, if they meet the threshold of 10% of the voting population, then Parliament ought to sit down and discuss it. It doesn't have to pass it or agree with it, but like in other jurisdictions in the Commonwealth, it needs to at least consider it, rather than believing that the only thing that can come within these hallowed precincts are things that come via Cabinet or via the opposition through private members' bills. We also believe that there are aspects of parliamentary reform that ought to be on the front burner in that consultation whenever the commission is set up. And those relate to things like fixed dates and term limits on prime ministers. I find myself in a unique position where I believe in term limits on prime ministers, and a lot of the members of my parliamentary team don't necessarily support it. But I believe that this country can send up and can produce enough talent that there are other persons who can serve in this office, and that after 2 terms, in my view, that's just my view, that we can rotate. There comes a point, and I remember a former Prime Minister when I sat at the other end of this bench in 1994, who sat next to me as a courtesy as a former Prime Minister. He sat on the front bench. And he would say to me that to govern well, you have to say yes, and you have to say no. And there comes a time when the no's start to creep up to the yeses. And you have to decide then whether you want to hold on for dear life or whether you want to let go and become an influence for good. Do you hold on to power for dear life, or do you let go and become an influence for good? I believe the Barbadian tradition and the Barbadian way is to become an influence for good. And I feel strongly that when the time comes that we have those discussions with the national population, that all views, like always, and everything that I support, will contend. But I do support term limits. That is the truth. And in fact, it was in the constituency of the Honorable Leader of the Opposition at the annual conference in 2014 when a resolution was moved for the Barbados Labour Party to have a policy of term limits. And so democratic have I led this party, in such a democratic way have I led this party, that I was defeated in the moving of that resolution for term limits. And I suspect the Leader of the Opposition was one of the ones who spoke against term limits on that occasion. It's just a fact of history, nothing more than that, I reflect upon. So that we will undertake, and I give the country that assurance, this must be a period of new governance. It must also be a period in which accountability matters. And after I spoke to the country last Thursday on matters of grave concern to us, particularly in the financial circumstances in which the country finds itself, particularly as it relates to the wanton and arbitrary signing of contracts at the last minute in circumstances where contracts for employment or leases had not yet expired, but opportunities were being taken to bind the hand of any successor government. These things are wrong. And these are the things that we must reflect upon, whether we put systems in place to preclude governments from signing contracts within 3 months of an election date, particularly if they're fixed date elections, or 6 months, or that if they are signed, they must be laid on the floor of the House for public review. All of these are things that we have to discuss. Suffice it to say, as I said on Sunday, the journey only now starts. Today is the first day. I have been in this chamber and the other place for 29 years, almost, 27 years. And I must confess that this is the first day that I've known that we've had to work on the ceremonial day opening of Parliament. It was not what we anticipated, as I said, but it is where we're at. I'd just like to say that I therefore thank the honourable members of the House for allowing us to do the business in as efficient a manner as we've done it, and I look forward to us next week getting on to the other substantive business of getting Barbados back on track and building the best Barbados that we can together. I beg to move, sir, that this bill be now read a second time.
The question is that this bill be read a second time. All those in favor, please say aye. All those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it.
I beg that Your Honour, the Speaker, do now leave the chair and this House resolve itself into committee, sir.
The question is that this Honourable House be resolved into committees for further consideration of this bill. Those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it.
House is now in committees.
Beg to move that clause 1 stand part.
Second, please.
Question is that clause 1 stand part. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. All those members against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
Clause 2.
I beg to move that clause 2 stand part.
Second, please.
I beg to second that.
Question is that clause 2 stand par. All those members in favor say aye. All those members not in favor say nay. Thinks the ayes have it.
Clause 3.
I beg to move that clause 3 stand part, ma'am.
Second, please.
I beg to second that.
Question is that clause 3 stand part. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. All those members against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
Clause 4.
Stand part, ma'am.
Question is that clause 4 stand part. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. All those not in favor, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
No, I tell it not. We see had it right first time.
Beg to move that clause 5 stand part, ma'am.
Second, please.
I beg to second that, ma'am.
Question is that clause 5 stand part. All those members in favor, please say aye. All those members against, please say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Report the passing of one bill. Report the passing of one bill. Sorry. Sorry. I beg to move that you don't report to His Honor the passing of one bill. Oh, you're welcome. Oh, okay. I could tell the speaker delay when he coming in.
I beg to that you don't report to His Honor the Speaker the passing of one bill in committee.
Question is that I do now report to His Honor the Speaker the passing of one bill in committee. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. All those members against, please say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
chairman of committees has reported to me the passing of one bill in the committee.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that this bill be now read a third time. Second.
I beg to second that, sir.
The question is that this bill be read a third time.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that this bill.
All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that this bill be now passed and cited as the Constitutional Amendment Act 2018.
I beg to second that, sir.
Right. Ms. Motley? Ms. Bradshaw? Mr. Marshall?
Aye.
Mr. Payne?
Aye.
Mr. Toppin? Aye. Ms. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Prescott?
Aye.
Mr. Simmons?
Aye.
Lieutenant Colonel Bostick?
Aye.
Mr. Hinkson? Aye. Mr. Sutherland?
Aye.
Dr. Duguid?
Aye.
Ms. Husbands?
Aye.
Mr. Abrams?
Aye.
Mr. Weir?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Thorne? Mr. Gooden Edger? Aye. His Honor, Mr. Clark? Aye. Bishop Atherley? Mr. Griffith? Aye. Mr. Phillips?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Ms. Carroll?
Aye.
Mr. Strong?
Aye.
Dr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Rowe?
Aye.
Mr. Speaker, 29 honorable members have voted in favor of the bill. This then satisfied the requirement under Section 49 of the Constitution, requiring two-thirds majority of all members of the House.
The constitutional requirements having been met, this bill is now passed and so cited.
Committees. Mr. Speaker, we revert to the appointment of committees. Appointment of the Management Commission. I did that. Which one? Yeah. You can move the motion that the following members be appointed.
Mr. Speaker, I move a motion that the following members be appointed to the Management Commission of Parliament. Mr. Member for St. Peter, the Honourable Member for St. John, the Honourable Member for St. Philip North, the Honourable Member for St. Michael West Central, in relation, Mr. Speaker, to the Committee of Public Accounts. Huh? Separate. Right, so I on to. Oh, all right. Somebody needs to second it.
Make the second that, Mr. Speaker.
Question that those persons be so appointed. I wish to remind this honorable chamber, the reason why the name of the member of the leader of opposition has not been called is because he's an ex officio member. Question that the honorable members be so appointed. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those against, please say no. Meeting the ayes have it.
Appointment of the Committee of Privileges.
Mr. Speaker, I move a motion that the following members be allowed to serve on the Committee of Privileges. The Honourable Member for the City of Bridgetown, the Member for St. Michael South, Member for St. Michael Northwest, Member for St. Thomas, the Member for St. George North, and the Leader of the Opposition.
Leader of Opposition. Second, please.
Second that, sir.
The question is that those honorable members be so appointed to the committee, the aforementioned committee. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Meeting the ayes have it.
Appointment of the Committee of Public Accounts.
Mr. Speaker, I move a motion that the following members be appointed to the Committee of Public Accounts. The Honourable Member for St. James South, the Honourable Member for St. Michael South Central, the Honourable Member for St. Peter, the Honourable Member for St. Philip North, the Honourable Member for St. Michael West Central, the Honourable Member for St. James Central, and the Honourable Leader of the Opposition who represents the constituency of St. Michael West.
Second that, sir.
Question that the honorable members so named be appointed to the aforementioned committee. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. All those against, please say no. Meeting the ayes have it.
Appointment of Standing Orders Committee.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move a motion that the following members become members of the Standing Orders Committee. The Honourable Member for St. Andrew, the Honourable Member for St. Michael North, the Honourable Member for St. James Central, the Honourable Member for Christchurch East, and the Honourable Member for St. Michael West and Leader of the Opposition.
Second that, sir.
Question that the aforementioned honorable members be appointed to the said committee. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Meeting the ayes have it.
Library Committee.
Mr. Speaker, I move a motion that the following members become appointed to the Library Committee. The Honourable Member for Christchurch West Central, the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central, the Honourable Member for St. Philip West, the Honourable Member for St. Michael West Central, the Honourable Member for St. Michael South Central, and the Honourable Member for St. Michael West.
Second, please. West. Second, please.
Second that, sir.
Question that those honorable members so named be appointed to the said committee. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. All those honorable members against, please say no. Meeting the ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the... Right, okay. Mr. Speaker, that brings us to the end of government business for the day. I beg to move the suspension of today's sitting, the adjournment, sorry, until the Monday, the 11th of May, of June, until 11 a.m. of June, I said June, at which time the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance will issue a ministerial statement. We anticipate that the appropriate resolution will accompany this statement, and that such that the Leader of the Opposition and other members of the Chamber will be given the opportunity to respond appropriately. So essentially, it is a mini budget that we are anticipating on Monday.
11 o'clock.
That's what I said.
I beg to second that, sir.
Question is that this honorable house be adjourned until June the 11th at 11 a.m. in the forenoon. Monday, June 11th in the forenoon. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it. This house now stands adjourned until Monday, the 11th of June at 11 a.m. in the forenoon.